Hey, welcome to Virtual Natural Balance Masterclass. My name is Neal. Neal's my name. Neal's not who I am. Well, if Neal's not who you are, then who am I? Well, who I am is a multi-dimensional, infinite spiritual being that's expressing through a human body. And I'm a child of God the Father here in this moment, having the opportunity to practice sharing, to practice opening up, to practice surrendering, to practice nurturing balance and cooperation inside of myself and allowing that to overflow through this body, through my words, through the energy that's coming from my being. And right here, right now, what is natural balance? Well, natural balance is a global movement that's expressing through the hearts and the minds of the people. And it is your gift and it's your contribution and it's your purpose. And it's that thing inside of you that is there even when everything else that you think you are gets taken from you. There's this one constant thing that is the I am that's in you, and it's the I am that's inside of this body. And it's that I am is an energy. Even the words I am are just words using to describe an energy, which I can also call love. And this energy is the connecting fascia of all of the perceived parts that are actually infinitely connected through a fascia and a membrane of the connector. Uh, in this case, the connector is the creator, the connector is source, the connector is love. And so we, I have this creator, I have this connector, this weaver inside of this body, and it's also outside of this body. So I'm both in it and it's in me, but me doesn't exist. Me only exists in a world of language. So really, me is inside of I am. And um, a way of observing this is when seeing the mind as transcendent of the body and seeing the brain as a thing that's inside the body that is receiving the greater mind, which in this case I'm also calling the greater mind the connector. And the reason I'm calling it the mind is in relation to the Hermetic principles where all is mind, and I'm that mind, that's the great mind, that's the infinite connection. That mind is what I'm also calling God, I'm also calling love, and and it is tapping into that inside of you and inside of me. It's tapping into that has us have capacity to express our gift. And there's multiple reasons why we don't tap into that. And in actuality, we're always tapped into the I am that's inside of us. But in perceptuality, through our perception, we think and we can generate illusions that we're not connected, and we can focus on not being connected so much that we have it be an experience that we can live, and it's an illusionary experience, but we can still live it. And so God is so free, is so loving, that he literally gave us capacity to create illusionary perceptions, expectations, opinions, and my truth of how he actually created reality to work. And we can have those things actually from our perception, B, how reality operates, but it literally being a my truth and not actually discernment. And discernment being an expression of how divine actually operates in a moment in time. And discernment is the truth, and the truth and discernment are transcendent of perception, expectation, opinion, and my truth. The truth is, it just is, and it is also light. And so as we're embracing the truth and surrendering to operating from our true self, which is our God self, which we all have access to, but we choose to, sometimes we choose to focus on things other than our true self. And that is what keeps us from expressing that and sharing that and offering that. So I've been in an inquiry recently, and with no per se interest of landing on a destination per se, but being in the inquiry specifically to receive answers and then paint a picture of what is based on answers received, and not have them be the correct answers unless they are actually literally generally correct from discernment, but just letting the answer be the answer, not incorrect, not correct, just literally an answer that I can see, that I can observe, and then compiling answers, and then having a larger view of what actually potentially is correct with discernment after having received multiple perspectives that come from perception, and they come from ego, and they come from this place that is inside of I am, and it's part of I am, but it's not the totality, it's only a piece of I am. And why am I speaking all this? Well, it's because of what I'm committed to. And well, what are you committed to? Well, what I'm committed to is listening and speaking from love. I'm committed to listening and speaking from God. And I'm committed to opening up and sharing and allowing something to come through that typically is not observed and it's not spoken to. And I'm here speaking to that. And the only reason I'm speaking to it is because of like my commitment that I've made. And I, being Neal, being the soul, literally I've committed with God to, hey, like, um, I I receive you, I acknowledge you, I accept you, and I express you. And you, in this case, I'm using to point towards I am. And welcome, David. You're here in person.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I felt called to join as you were speaking.
Today has been a day, like I'm literally going into the past. So I'm like, there I was like at the garden team meeting, and I'm sitting at this meeting, and this is like one of my favorite meetings. I love going to this. I have a lot of inspiration around it. And today, like, I was like really just like tired, and I was like, all right, today at the garden team meeting, it's nap time. And I actually literally said this out loud, and it was what was true in that moment. Um, so I could have just beat myself up for not being inspired, and not I didn't even have anything planned to bring to the meeting. Typically, I might have one or two things prepared, and I was all right with it. I loved how I showed up. How did I show up? Well, I showed up authentically. I showed up in flow without a plan, with the faith that what I need is already inside of here, and that by writing it on some piece of paper, it can assist what's here, but I don't need to have it on paper to be prepared for when I show up.
I'm glad you speak to that because sometimes the line between being in integrity and being authentic as you are in the moment can be rather blurry. So most things that are structured have a very specific kind of intention when you where you're just like a gear in whatever larger machine. And if your integrity, quote unquote, is bound to that machine, then you're not exactly in integrity, are you? As a soul and as a spiritual being that is here to express itself in all of its wonderful uh, ways. Um, so yeah, and that line gets blurrier and blurrier the more you're operating outside of your true purpose. And the more, I guess, lies that you're living in or traumas that you're entrenched in your beliefs, your belief structure, etc. Um, that being said, uh, what's been kind of resurfacing in the past couple weeks, particularly today, is um, this questioning of truth and love being all there is, in the sense of all there is to pay attention to. Because um, it seems like you can't truly understand love without understanding tragedy. That in some ways, uh, if you don't, um, if you don't if you're not able to have compassion in the sense of seeing where things went wrong, how they went wrong, why they went wrong, and that at the same time they couldn't have been avoided. In other words, that's the tragedy of it. That in spite of uh, seeing, believing, loving, and uh, even knowing on a deeper level the way in a given situation, that the situation that unfolded couldn't have unfolded any other way. And in that sense, appreciating uh, and seeing the beauty even in whatever despair or destruction, and not being tied in with it, or like being a proponent of it. That's uh would not be what I'm saying. But yeah, actually just um it's the same, like it's being in love versus standing in love, or being in tragedy versus standing in it. It's like you don't understand tragedy without understanding love either. So it kind of goes both ways. In other words, you can be stuck in your quote unquote, let's call it victim story. And, um, and the reason is because you actually don't understand your own tragedy or whatever it is that you went through, whatever it is that was anti-love or the antithesis of all there is. And so a lot of times
And
yes,
pause you.
please.
Are you solid on where you're going?
Yeah.
We got a person in the waiting room. Can we
Oh,
get
yeah, I'll
them
let them
in
in.
and
Yeah.
then please just pick up where you were and
Okay, yeah, great. Um, so what I see when it comes to truth, falsehood, love, trauma, or this sort of dichotomy, good and evil in a way, um, is that you can't really have one without the other, and that uh, to place your attention purely on one side, that on love, on Jesus, on truth, on all of this, and completely disregard this other side where that's like it's almost like, oh, danger. It's like, oh, don't focus there, or oh, that's negative, or oh, I don't know. If you give it any attention, that's just appreciating it and making it grow, and it like in the negative sense, and um, or it's heroing. In other words, like, okay, so if there's a tragedy, then the only way about it is either the whoever's stuck in that in that situation or in their mind believed to be stuck, that the only way to help them is to just sit on the boulder or whatever it is. But I totally get that if they're holding on to the rock, right? You just kind of sit on it to make it clear that that's what they're doing. But my point is just that it's from a balanced perspective that one can be uh, quote unquote saved from the illusion or delusion of whether it's love or tragedy. Because you can be spiritually bypassing, right? If you're on the side of love and you can just, everything is perfect, love is all there is, and all
well,
that.
this is the woke mind virus.
Right. And it's the antith that's why, it actually, you become the opposite of what you're you're believing when you're missing the other side of the equation. And this
Why do you think that is?
uh because um because of the deterministic nature of reality as I see it, in the sense that even if you're conscious, it's actually worse in some ways. But when you're conscious of what's going on, like fully conscious, you fall into the trap, and this is what John, I think, very well makes clear and makes us weary of. If you're conscious, you have there's the trap of starting to play God and wanting to intervene in otherwise whatever fatalistic outcomes. So in other words, you're perceiving the unconscious nature of perhaps others acting in the world or other people. And so the tendency that you will have if you're seeing something is to prevent it from happening. Because otherwise, like what's the purpose of insights or your awareness if you don't if you're not meant to actively apply it in any meaningful sense within the context of the world you came from, perhaps. um but why it is in nature, if a more profound or deeper question, if that's what you were asking, like why is it that you can't have love without tragedy or understand it, or the other way around. And I think it's um well, yin and yang. So order and chaos. The role of the feminine, the divine feminine, and role of the divine masculine. That the way in which they're complementary is the exact, not just polar opposite, but diametrically opposed opposites. And uh, meaning the higher purpose of the divine masculine is to step into the truth, to stand for the truth, and the higher purpose is to essentially establish the order based on it. Whereas the divine feminine, it would be to see where things aren't perfectly in order, where things aren't divinely playing out as they should, and actually, quote unquote, be the hero, but the authentic hero, the higher purpose of the feminine being to see what's quote unquote wrong, or to have compassion for the tragedy, to help them see the side of love. And then in that sense, the purpose of the masculine is to help see the side of tragedy, which is the default for, like, on the feminine side, which is chaos. So they help each other see the beauty and the truth of both sides, whether it's creation or destruction, or good and evil, without one-sided judgment or one-sided compassion, which is where it becomes toxic, the toxic feminine or the toxic masculine. And so the reason that I brought this up, and that I felt impelled to bring it to the table here, is because what I have been experiencing, the lack of, like, rather than the masculine judgment of, say, victim and victim story and whatever it is, what's missing as the complement to that is the actual appreciation and understanding and compassion for the tragedy which underlies it, where it's purely being dismissed as not the truth. Like, there's truth and not truth, and that's a paradigm that I used to live in, and in some ways I fell into this trap, or this hole, precisely because I did not acknowledge the reality of the counterpart of it. So there's a I don't know precisely the words to use here, but there's like a truth in the falsity. So falseness is not just not truth. Falseness is a thing in and of itself, and is a bearer. It bears something that is worthy of appreciation, that purely standing in the truth and love does not yield. It does not yield. It's because of its unyielding nature, that, being in full integrity and fully in the truth, that unyielding nature does not lend itself to bearing the counter part, the counter side, which is again the divine feminine, or role that they play in the healing sort of aspects of being.
How I see this is like you with the black and the white, like you require both of them to see the full picture, and they both exist inside of I am, but none of them are I am in its totality. So both positive and negative exist inside of I am, exist in God, but they're only aspects and attributes, and we can use an aspect, you can call an aspect a perspective, to see another perspective, to see another aspect with clarity. And so this is what I'm hearing and what you're sharing.
Well, beyond that, actually, because that's possible to do what you just shared, the polarity, the plus and the minus, and all the aspects. It's possible to see the wholeness of it purely through the divine masculine side, for example, and purely in the truth. And and actually, those are the channels through which you actually see it. And I guess what I'm saying is that um the if you invert it, if you invert the whole of the whole, you invert it, that side of it is would seem like it's counter. It's completely the antithesis of wholeness. It's the antithesis of integrity. It's the antithesis of all these things, and yet what I'm trying to say is that there's an essence there that is more than just not truth. It's more than just not light. In other words, there's light and then there's just the absence of light. Darkness is just absence of light. I'm saying that there's blackness, like you said, white and black, and that black is a thing. It's not just not white.
Yeah. Yeah, I received this.
Okay.
Welcome. What's your name? I see you on Zoom, but I'm not able to read your name. Do you want to share your name or?
I'm Joseph.
Joseph? Welcome, Joseph.
Yeah, I was just looking in my calendar thing, and I've got all these Awakened Earth like events and stuff saved. And I saw this one. I was just like, I just want to join one of these. I don't even know what this is. I just wanted to join it.
Welcome. It's pretty simple how this works in being here. Be your true self, and you're welcome to contribute. And contributing looks like sharing your voice. It looks like unmuting and expressing. And you can raise your virtual hand, or you can raise your physical hand to share, or you can literally just unmute and share. This is an opportunity. This is a flow space that we're in currently, and so yeah, welcome. And if at any point you want to contribute, raise your hand, raise your virtual hand, or just unmute yourself and share.
Okay, nice. Is there like a topic for this meeting?
What was the question?
Is there like a topic for this meeting? Something specific?
I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. I kind of came in. You guys were like in the middle of talking already, so I wasn't sure what it was.
If there is a topic, the topic is natural balance. And then what that topic looks like is this conversation.
Okay.
So we were basically just talking about how you can't truly understand love without understanding tragedy, and how you can't understand tragedy without understanding love, and how the feminine and the masculine, how they are pivotal in that sort of role, or dual aspects of being, if you will.
So what do you think the truth is? Like if there's the truth and then there's not truth, but you're speaking to even the not truth it's more than just not the truth.
Right. Yeah.
So what I'm saying is I am is including both. And I'm also calling I am the truth. So
that is actually the question.
So then what is the truth from where you're currently looking from? And you're like I asked that question, but then your question was that is your question.
Yeah.
So from how I'm seeing it, from the lens of oneness, it is both not truth and the truth are in the truth, but the not truth is only an aspect of the truth, and it's not the totality. And then the truth both includes the truth and the not truth in it. So that's how I'm doing it currently.
Yeah, this is the thing that I have not been able to reconcile. So this is the point on which I split, because it wasn't even the polarities of it. I mean, that's the byproduct or side effect of like the polarities flipping or switching in whatever way inside of me. But what I couldn't reconcile is the hero's journey, effectively, of self-realization and the truth within you. Everything is within you now. And what recently came up, like in the men's group here, which was the Virgin's promise, which is basically like it's often associated with the feminine and the masculine. Well, it actually is the issue. The problem comes in when it's projected onto man and woman, because we both have both sides, and um yeah, those are like uh they don't converge onto each other like to a single uh point, like on a higher level. Like there's all these different aspects in truth of who we are, and but who we are is one, all members, or all the members of the body of Christ, for example, we can putting it in that frame. But uh it, it's like it's all of that is energy and matter, uh ultimately, and coming into form and being and existence as the matter, as I am. uh Now what I'm speaking to here is it's like matter and antimatter. So, and matter and antimatter, they both exist in the universe, but they actually don't exist together. They cancel each other out. They negate each other. They obliterate. If you actually bring, for example, a proton, and then I forget the actual term, but like the anti-proton of it, or uh, yeah, like they annihilate each other. And yet the fabric of space-time is actually uh interwoven by these both of these particles. Like recently, I saw like a short video of Neil deGrasse Tyson speaking with another astrophysicist, or whatever, and they mentioned how it's actually wormholes, like that wormholes are very real, that take you in between like these different, sort of sides of the universe, like the other side of a black hole or whatever is like, and that all of like reality is actually uh woven or interwoven with these wormholes, that the structure of reality is that's the most um see, I don't even know the words for it. It's not the most integral, but it's the most fundamental. It's the most essential. It's what everything runs through that makes everything else seem to be. Everything that seems to be is contingent upon the uh it would seem almost like unnatural balance of these uh, two antithetical realities or universes. So, um,
The two universes being the one outside of the wormhole, then going
yeah,
through it, and then the other one on the
yeah,
other side.
right. There was like a episode in Justice League. I don't know if you're familiar. It's Batman, Superman,
Yeah, I'm
and
familiar with
Justice
Batman
League.
and Superman.
Okay, well, so the Justice League is just an assembly. It's kind of like the Avengers in Marvel.
Yeah.
Justice League is like in the DC universe. And yeah, so there was like an episode in the show where it was precisely that. There was like the alternate reality where there was all of them except like the evil version of them.
Mm.
And like the evil version of Superman was like this was actually able to enter into this universe, into their universe. But when he entered into their universe, he was no longer the evil Superman in that universe. He became like a Bizarro. That's literally his name, Bizarro. And he
Mm.
became this kind of like monstrous looking, like very disturbing creature version of him. And the point was that like they can't exist in each other's like universe without turning into a uh it's hard to like bizarre. It's just
Yeah,
the world of
I
bizarre
receive
in
it
this sort of
because it's like everything's energy, and energy is neither created nor destroyed. It's only ever transmuted. So It's like Hitler reincarnating as a dog because uh like because of the how he is, but then um through karmic lessons now being a dog and learning compassion and love and connection with humans and um so I correlated that with what
Yeah,
you were
that
just
works. I
speaking
mean, that
to.
would be quite bizarre, right? If Hitler was a dog, like, oh, that's Hitler in this reality in this timeline, like this is Hitler. It's like, what are you talking about? You know, um, but the point is to say that, uh, well, well, this wasn't exactly the point, but I want to use it to say that that's kind of the place that I entered. Like I was trespassing in a set in essence, and like I turned into this weird bizarro version of myself, like not the evil counterpart, which would be the quote unquote antichrist, or the embodiment of the whatever the that trajectory towards that is, or just whatever the malintentioned wanting to cause destruction and harm to everybody, like that version of me. Instead of turning into that version, I turned into, like, I have that inside of me, but I don't in any way embody it or seek to enact it.
Mhm.
I don't embody it or seek to enact it. So I'm still like the sort of pro light uh sort of um mind, like in my like mentality or what it is that I want to see happen, but but it's like I entered the alternate universe and then I came back to this one in this bizarro form of who I was, and it's precisely because I couldn't wasn't able to reconcile good and evil as an actual thing. Like the way that I reconciled it before, up until that moment, was that there is no us and them. It's a false dichotomy. Uh, there's only good, and like evil is just the ego. Just I don't know. It's people didn't realize their true self. People who haven't realized their true self have been taken by lies or conditioning and whatever it is without truly appreciating, well, as Jordan Peterson would say, give the devil his due. Um, and uh, yeah, and in that way, in basically, well, I didn't exactly deny it. I just want, well, I guess I weirdly did deny it. Like I wanted to be wrong about what I was seeing, which is this evil, quote unquote, because I literally developed this whole framework to induce nuance into this thing, like good, bad, good, evil. And so it's like, what are your alignments on all the different levels of being? Like it's like this alignment with this alignment, which manifests this thing.
Alignments being what?
Like it's I called it the breakdown of the self, and it's kind of like, there's the ideal self and the real self and the true
Yeah.
self here. Well, mine kind of breaks it down even further, and it's like the alignments primarily are good, neutral plus, neutral minus, and then neutral on certain levels. There's no really well, there is bad, but on certain levels that's where your judgments are involved. So there's bad only where on the levels where you have judgment. So you can judge something as bad, but it's not inherently that.
And also then that would also be unconscious as well.
Yeah. Unconscious. So,
So bad only is existing unconsciously.
yeah.
And consciously bad is just an unconscious perception.
Yes. Right. And that's exactly how I saw it until I kept going deeper and deeper and deeper, and I saw there were deeper levels that I haven't. They're like below the subconscious. Like the subconscious was as deep. This is where this kind of thing was born out of. It was born out of the subconscious, like the full connection, and with the true self. But deeper than that, I had a friend who was diagnosed bipolar, I would say incorrectly. And what I realized in doing his breakdown is that he had splits, that there were certain aspects of himself which were dual. They were not a singular alignment. They would they would flip.
Can you give an example?
Well, like the Jekyll and Hyde thing, where you're like all happy and seem like you're all nice and good and then you turn to like being a complete dickhead or whatever. Like just these sharp flips in personality
And ways of being as well.
and ways of being. So incongruity and what's that distinction of being? Is that
Yeah, ways of being.
yeah.
Congruency of being.
Yeah. So very blatant kind of splits, which are not on different levels, because most people they're not really split. They feel or think one thing on one level and they feel and think something on another level. But this is on the same level. Somebody is split.
How does that happen?
That's where that questioning began. And what it opened the door to, or the window to, is the bizarro world of personality disorders. Personality disorders. I mean, I just use that terminology because there's like an abundance of literature at this point about it, and therefore a lot of misinformation as well. But if you get to the, uh, real, I mean, how do you distinguish real people? But people who really went deep, individuals who really understand it on a very fundamental level. Basically, what I found on a deeper level with this friend of mine who's like, I'm not judging you to be bad or saying or morally like condemning you on a super egoic level. I'm just conscientiously saying that fundamentally what you're doing is wrong in the sense that it's taking you to hell and it's taking you further away from heaven. It's taking you further away from wholeness, from completion. So that would have been my distinction. And I was saying that you're fighting against conditioning by going by defying it, as opposed to just seeing it for what it is and realizing the truth within yourself, and seeing the innocence within yourself and conscientiously guiding it. Now the problem was that was kind of strayed away from a long time ago as a young child, and so he's not, he and a lot of other people with whatever traumas aren't up to date, so to speak. So they're not able to be present because they've abandoned this aspect of themselves for whatever favor, because of some belief, subconscious belief that was adopted about the world or their environment and their parents, whatever it is. So the mechanics of it get more deeply involved, like intricately involved. But the point is that having gotten to those lower levels, I wanted to be wrong about what because when I would do these breakdowns, I was doing it not rationally. I was doing it intuitively. I was just, what comes to me, I'd put it, fill in the blank. And in that blank, like after I would fill it out, I'd step back and look at it and I'd be, oh shit. I'd reflect on it after what naturally came to fill that space in. And what came to me was evil. Like at the very bottom of like wherever the split is, wherever that split and causing on the higher levels, those splits, is because there's something deeper. And on that level, what I found was, I don't know what else to call it. I've never come across anything that I've reflected on was not this. and the only thing that this could be was evil. And I couldn't, and at that point, like I didn't have the perspective that we're all born in sin or whatever, and that we have to, like, we're already born in collectively, yes, collectively as a humanity, yes, but as individuals, there's like a line that you can either like make it through developmentally or not make it through, where you start forming your true self. And I mean, you both start forming your true self and your ego at the same time, and then you kind of differentiate it as you get older.
We don't form our true self. Our true self is inherently in us, and we only form the
Yes.
ideal self. So
Well,
the true self is always formed, and
well, that's what I thought.
and this is like, if there is something fundamental, it's the true self. So the true self being God, and
Perfect.
and so then anything that's added to that is just that, it's an addition. So there is this fundamental layer, the God layer, the true self layer, which is, when we tap into that, we're tapping into our gift. We're tapping into our soul's reason for actually being present, for actually being here in this moment, for actually being on earth. And it is the things that are added to that true self, which are distortions, but it's the true self that is oriented. And it's that thing that's the guiding principles, that when we don't know what to do, the not knowing what to do, that part is usually related to our identity. But there's something inside of us that does know what to do, and it does know how to be, and it does know what to speak, and it does know what action to take. And that's always available when we have the faith and we trust it and we tune to it and we surrender all of the additions that we've added to it.
So, amen to that. But that being said, this is the mountain that I was willing to die on, the one that you're speaking to right now, and I did die on it, because I wanted to be wrong about the evil or whatever that I identified or saw on that level, and I fought what you resist, right? Persists.
Mm-hmm.
And so I, in my disbelief of this thing and belief in the true self being the fundamental and being all there is, found myself to be neutralized by this antithetical thing, which we were just speaking earlier, as far as the white and the black, and it actually being the thing. And so I ended up splitting in precisely the manner that these quote unquote personality disordered, like, individuals that my attention was brought to, that weren't bipolar, quote unquote. They were borderline. That's the label anyway, and the diagnosis, like borderline personality.
What did that
So,
look like for you when that happened in the external? From someone looking from the outside, like, would they have noticed anything different in you when that happened?
what specifically? This
When
split?
yeah, when you're calling this split in personality, where you essentially became neutralized.
Uh, well, it's precisely the fact that there were no witnesses or observers, kind of like in quantum physics. The observer determines that. So, because there was, in a way, that's what it is. It's just a void, where no light can really enter into. And so, like, the split becomes, it's like that the wormhole we were speaking earlier. It's like the wormhole uh is closed, and so the two worlds that are supposed to be running in some way parallel to one another, they stop mirroring they're no longer in quantum entangled or whatever and so
So from like the outside looking in, would this have been observable? Like in your way of being or actions or way of
yes, but it
communicating?
depends on the depth of perception that a person has. Like if you're just looking at a behavioral level, just behaviorally,
Yes.
you would notice, but you'd attribute it to like, I don't know, okay, they're feeling sick or depressed, whatever the hell depressed means, or like what, it it uh, it wouldn't be given necessarily the yeah, there's no way to say like even if I were observing myself from the starting point of that downwards journey and the end point, I wouldn't accept that end. I wouldn't accept. I like that's not real. Like I would say that like wherever you just went, and that's why I did that. Like I went there because I'm like almost to prove myself wrong about the quote unquote evil that I saw.
Did you do it?
Yeah, that's why. I mean, that's what
Pause,
happened.
pause there. Joseph, welcome.
Hey, I was wanting to ask, how did you reach this like level of like darkness, evil? Like, what is that? How did you do it?
Oh, how did I reach it? How did I go down to those depths? Is
Yeah,
that the
like is it like something you did on purpose, or is it something that just kind of happened to you?
No, it was very much on purpose. That's
Okay, so,
why it's
okay. So,
yeah.
how did you do it? Like, was there like a technique or something?
Um, yeah, the technique is realizing that love is all there is, that truth is like the building blocks of metaphysical reality that we inhabit. It's the process of self-realization, and basically once you realize these fundamentals, you can see from a vantage point, you can see at a depth that normally wouldn't be perceivable, and it's from there that you can uh there's a saying here at Earth Waking, or that John often says, that you reach heaven. How does he put it? Like through the bottom of hell,
Through the
like
floor of
through
hell.
the floor of hell. And
Makes sense.
so I think it can also work the other way around. John also says that the only thing more than everything is nothing. And so in trying to go beyond everything, in the sort of Buddhist traditions, there's like one with yourself, and then there's one with everything. And so if you try to go beyond that within your own sort of within yourself, you will find yourself at the extreme opposite end uh, of this thing. And in that way, that's how men and women complement each other. Is that they we reach the highest level through like diametrically opposed directions.
Yeah, I
So
think I think that did happen to me. Like
interesting. Okay.
going, so like in like 2020, I had this, like when COVID hit, like April 2020 was when the job I was working, we got sent to work from home. Well, I started going through this like really intense like spiritual phase that kind of culminated in like how like the idea of like being possessed.
Yeah.
Uh, so basically, I wanted to be like the vessel for like God, like literally like possessed by God itself, like Jesus take the wheel type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't remember exactly when it was like it was like October 1st. I think it was probably October 1st is when it happened. I was literally on the phone talking to a customer. I was doing like support for like TurboTax, and what I also wanted to do at the same time was like experience what you would call like firsthand proof of like unity with like God and like everything else, basically. And so what happened while I was on this phone call, it was like 5:59, like turning, I think it was like turning 6 o'clock or something like that. And while I was talking to this person, I was on my laptop, and you know how there's like you know how there's like fractals and spirals, like the flower of life, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like I was on my laptop, and s- somehow I started like taking like screenshots of like what I was doing, and it just kind of like kept going. Like I don't even remember if I was doing it or if it was just happening. I guess it was kind of like it was weird like loop, but it was like it kept taking screenshots, and it started making like this weird like
Uh,
spirally pattern.
right. Okay.
It was like super trippy, but that was basically like my experience of like unification with like everything. And after that, I just kind of went into this like really like autopilot mode for like several months, where like I like me, my whole life I've struggled with being like excessively self-conscious. Like, for example, when I was in school, we would have to walk, into the gym and like sit like on the bleachers and stuff. I would feel so uncomfortable like walking in front of people, or even like even at home if I was like, visiting relatives or at my dad's house or something. Just walking through the living room to get to the kitchen to get like, something to eat or a drink. Like
I can relate.
I would hate to even do stuff like that. And so when this happened, it was finally like I was able to let go. Like I was just living totally like in the moment. I wasn't like stuck in my head. I was just kind of like I was just acting, and all kinds of weird stuff happened. Like uh, I had like these supplements, and there was one that was supposed to like help you lucid dream. And like how in the Matrix you have like a red pill and a blue pill.
Yeah.
Well, the sleep supplement literally was like a red pill and a blue pill, and you're supposed to take them like different time stuff. And I ended up taking those, and it would like enhance these like states of mind that I was in. And I remember one night and one morning I did that, and I got up at like 5 in the morning, and I walked around outside like barefoot because I was trying to do like grounding and stuff at the same time. And like I just walked around, and I was probably listening to music. I don't remember, but it was like super peaceful and stuff. I walked across the street where I was living, where this church was, and I walked over this like little fence where there was like a donkey or something, and I like walked up to the donkey, and I was like picking like burrs out of its like mane or whatever, and like patting it on the head. It was really it was really something. So like the sad thing is, of course, nothing lasts forever. So that lasted maybe until the end of like 2020. And then this kind of ties back into what you were talking about. It was like I fell out the other side. So like I went from this like pinnacle of what I would want to be experiencing
Yeah.
almost like as a human to like just down into this horrible like depression and like darkness, and just like really like it got to the point towards the end of like 2021, or not even the end, like halfway through, where like my depression and anxiety were so bad, from being, I think from being mostly from being cooped up in the house all the time. Even though my job was talking on the phone, I completely lost like any semblance of like social skills or like ability to even like deal with people.
It was the same period of time for me, actually. Around 2019 is when the kind of exponential growth kind of started happening, and then it lasted for about a year and a half. But it wasn't just on its own. It transpired. It was kind of like a conscious choice that I made, and in connection with a reconnection with a girl, in particular from 10 years ago that I used to know. That was my counter part in that way, like on the other side of the black hole, so to speak.
Yeah.
So yeah, I,
Well,
I, so yeah, I was trespassing where I didn't belong because I was working on a model at the time as well that I wanted to complete. And the good news is I completed it. The bad news is there's nobody to actually implement it or to put it into purpose other than myself. And I am now kind of don't have the same capacities or presence or awareness that I did in its inception. Um, but
well,
yeah,
yeah,
thanks.
I kind of get that. Yeah, that's it's like part of me wants to get back to that experience, but also it's like if I have to go through what I had to go through afterwards again, I don't know if I could survive it. But now, over the last several weeks, I've been off of like my anti depression and anxiety medications for like a little over a month,
Yeah.
and now
Congratulations.
thank you. It wasn't on purpose. I was trying to reorder my prescriptions, and they said I was overdue for an appointment, so I couldn't get it filled. And my phone service was off, so I couldn't call them to make an appointment. And so now it's been over a month, and I went through like a little bit of like withdrawal stuff, but not nearly as bad as it was before, like years ago. Because about this time I was taking the same stuff, but in higher doses than I am right now or was. And when I went off of it back then, it was really bad. Like I was getting like brain zaps and stuff. And this time, like I think all that stuff's pretty much
MS,
over with. And what is that?
transcranial magnetic stimulation. Is that what you're talking about? Or what do you mean brain zapped? I took it literally when you said
I
that.
think I think we're talking about the same thing. I just haven't heard that term in a while. But it's like there's always it doesn't just happen to me, at least not these days. Uh it's like if I think of something that's kind of like really like odd or like weird for me, it triggers it. It's like this weird like, ugh, like what the hell?
Oh,
But yeah,
okay.
it's
We
like a
weren't
zap
with the same thing.
inside my brain.
Yeah, I got you now.
But yeah, that shit's pretty much subsiding now. And now it's like I told my roommate earlier today, I'm like, I don't even think I need my medications anymore. Like just over the last few weekends, I've been spending them with like my grandparents and like, going to church with them and stuff. And it's just kind of kickstarted like my desire to like live like a normal life again because I've been since that 2020 period, I haven't had a car. I've been stuck at home for the most part, not really, hanging out with friends or family, barely talking to anybody. And now it's like I'm really like ready to come out of that phase of life. I'm super restless. Like I can't like my mind and my body. I feel like walking around all the time. Really frustrating because it's so hot out here. I hate sweating.
Well, it sounds like an upgrade to me from where you were, you know.
It definitely is. Yeah, it's like I'm finally coming alive again. But yeah, that just so happened to be like in 2020. During that phase I was in, that was when I went to my first Awaken Life live, and it was only like until like years later, like I think last year is when I finally first like kind of rediscovered the community, so to speak.
Is there more you want to share, or is that complete?
Uh, I don't know. I'm not. I hardly get to talk to people, so if I get on like a roll, then I can probably go on forever. But I think I got out most of the gist of what I wanted to get out.
Awesome.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for listening. I appreciate that, y'all.
You're
Because
welcome.
I can barely talk about these experiences with most normal people, and have it make any kind of sense. I think.
You're a weirdo. It's
Yeah.
you're among company here. So
Yeah, yeah, my ego death. That's what we call it. I
yeah,
experienced ego
Yes.
death for
yeah.
that few months, and I want to do it again.
So we've been in a flow space here, and right now we're going to transition into more of a structured space. And in this structured space, you have an opportunity to share an offer, to share a gift, to share an opportunity, something tangible that somebody else could receive. And have this offer be from a place of whole and completeness. Have it be not something that you need to share or that you need to have received, but have it something that's like, wow, I've got this thing inside of me that lights me up, that's inspiring, and I would love to gift it to someone and share from that space. And I'm gonna go first. So feel into it. If you have an offer, if you want to share something right here, right now, this is an opportunity for that. My offer is this masterclass, first of all. This is reoccurring on Wednesdays, and the start time is 5:30 Central Standard Time, and it's a 1 hour masterclass. And this masterclass is a virtual masterclass and a ceremony, and it's a natural balance virtual masterclass. And I also host natural balance in-person physical events. Um, this virtual masterclass is an opportunity to practice nurturing balance and cooperation inside of yourself through connection, networking, and giving and receiving offers. So you're invited to come join this virtual masterclass Wednesdays at 5:30 Central Standard Time. And now, so that's one offer. And now my second offer is a physical event specifically for plateaued healers and event facilitators. And this event's name is called the Up Level Ceremony. And this Up Level Ceremony is happening in rural Costa Rica on Earthquake and Grace 2 property. And the minimum donation to attend this event is $333, and boom, spot secured. And then you're responsible for transportation and getting here. And there's a maximum number of 30 people that'll be at this up-level ceremony. And this is a 7-day event. The start date is December 27th, 2024. The end date is January 2nd, 2025. And in the first 5 days of this up-level ceremony, we are food fasting in silence. And during those first 5 days, we're doing 6 hours of meditation per day that are split into 2-hour windows with some light body movement in between the meditations. This is an opportunity to really go deep. This is not for someone new who hasn't really been practicing spiritual things or ways of being or ways of interacting. During this food fast, we literally clean out our physical body. We let a lot of shit go, literally and spiritually. And on the other side, we shine, we're radiant, we're more connected, which we can't be more connected, but we can clean the lens and remember the connection that we already are. So all of this, I'm going to put in the description of this video. This is Yeah, so reach out. My email's in the description as well. So just connect. So that's my offer. David, you've been here a couple times. You got an offer today?
Well, you said a key thing right there, which was coming from a place of wholeness and completion. And I guess whatever offer I may have, I'm holding off until then.
Received. Joseph, do you have an offer you want to share?
Well, nothing like formal, I guess. I would like to become involved with like the whole earthwaking community as much as I can. I don't have a job or anything right now, so I've got plenty of time. I just don't have any money.
How do you see yourself being a contribution in connection with earthwaking community?
Hmm. Uh, I don't know. I'm trying. I'm focused on like finding my purpose. So if I can find something that fits along the lines of what I'm supposed to be doing, then I'd be happy to jump into it, studying and learning and then contributing.
Fully received. Um, so my invitation to you is to join this upcoming Wednesday on this masterclass and come prepared with an offer. Come prepared with something, even if it's like a half-hour conversation and receiving, let's say, um, $50 minimum donation for a half-hour conversation. That my invitation to you is show up next week, come prepared with an offer. And to anybody listening, this is part of what this virtual masterclass is for this seamless interaction of cooperation through giving and receiving gifts. So with that, we're already over time, so I'm going to end this masterclass right now. I love you. Thank you for being here. You are the gift. And with that, peace.
Thank you.